Oh, living lively. Everybody tryna ride my wave, they can ride me. Pull up in a foreign to the curb, looking icy. I ain't never stressed about a fit, I'm on hype beats. Hey, yo, Parrish, this shit high, boy. She get it up. If bitch keep talking to me, she said she can't get enough. I told her when the candy thing, I trust her. Nobody know you can't talk. Big boy, she get it up. If bitch keep talking to me, she said she can't get enough. I told her when the candy thing, I trust her. Can't talk that. Brand new coupe, nobody know you can't talk that. Won't get harder, that's what got me grinding. My super Cardi, right outside the party. Don't need no one around me. I'd rather be lonely than I stay on my grind, I'm still keeping it low key. You knew me in high school, don't say that you know me. I'd rather be alone than be around you fake bucks. They want me on this body, gotta get on a big bus. Julius around the Hollywood, palm trees and get straight up puffing on the wood. Take 2 pills to get through my face, I'm okay. Just around a hot text and that shit all day. Been this way since 13, but oh well. Real poor boys, let's cocaine and hotel. High school dropout, make it out. You better not talk, don't wanna take it out. Hey boy, she get it up. The bitch keep talking to me, she said she can't get enough. I pulled up in the candy thing, I drop top, can't talk that. Ain't no cold, nobody know you can't talk it. Hey boy, she get it up. The bitch keep talking to me, she said she can't get enough. I pulled up in the candy thing, I drop top, can't talk that. Ain't no cold, nobody know you can't talk that. I've been setting all these and I did the dash. Shawty know I only care about the cash. Big guns, big sticks, big rash. Yes, me, I ain't got it, said I got it like that. I get it when I want it. Smoking marijuana, keep it hotter than the sun. Smoking till the sun up. They asked me if I have plans just to bring your funds up. They tested me to a challenge and I didn't show up. Where they at? I bet at your party and I got the stick tough. You just went down your skateboard looking like a dumb fuck. Mama told me get a bag and I said run it up with the naughty and a jag. But I need a bench truck, I need real cheese, big ass peso. Duffel with me, or this fucking bankroll. Got a 4.0 GPA on the road. Leading up and down the freeway, didn't pay a single toll. If you fuck with my money moves, I'll make it rest relevant. I'll make all of these niggas mad. They might scream and cry and vent. I might stack up 100 racks and buy me an elephant. I might send you another fact. Could you tell me if it's sent? I've been setting all these and I did the dash. Shawty know I only care about the cash. Big guns, big sticks, big racks. Yes, me, I ain't got it, said I got it like that. I get it when I want it. Smoking marijuana, keep it hotter than the sun. Smoking till the sun up. They asked me if I have plans just to bring your funds up. They tested me to a challenge and they didn't show up. Didn't show up, I'm knocking at your door, right? Taking meds till I pass out on the floor, right? If a nigga step up, I say goodnight. Bitten on the ground and chalk, all that off-white. Put you right up on a shirt. I'll be damned if I never put in work. You a broke ass bitch, your pockets hurt. And I carry an Uzi. No bird, chillin' in a jacuzzi. My way. Running on the dash, driving down the highway. Only care about the cash, what the fuck can I say? I've been waiting for the blow up, call me Pompeii. Hey, I've been starting out even at the dash. Shawty know I only care about the cash. Big guns, big sticks, big rash. Yes, me, I ain't got it, said I got it like that. I get it when I want it. Smoking marijuana, keep it hotter than the sun. Smoking till the sun up. They asked me if I have plans just to bring your funds up. They tested me to a challenge and they didn't show up. Ooh, 23. Obviously not. I'm feeling good again, but I probably shouldn't be. This is what I've been acting, but fuck you know. Hey, yo, Babs, this shit crazy. Yeah, I've been sipping up.
Man, get that Nickelodeon shit off. Listen, part of my presence YouTube channel. It's been a long time. Long time. I believe my last video dropped sometime in February or January. I can't even say when it dropped. But a lot has changed since then. In my life, I'm sure in your life as well too. And definitely a lot has changed in the world. But I'm here to talk about one thing in particular, okay? One thing in particular. And that is a video that I came across. A video that I came across today, and it compelled me to have a live about it. Because I felt it was very profound and it was really touching, especially being a parent myself. So I want to go over that. But before I get into that, I just want to say hello to everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. I see people in chat as well too. Moneyboy Trey, respect. Matt Militant, respect. I appreciate you guys coming in. I see there's other people as well too. The silent people, I appreciate you as well too. The numbers count. Hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm back. I am back. For how long? I don't know. I can't say. But for now, I'm back. But one thing I want to go over is that in the past, about 5-6 months, I learned a lot about myself, about life, about how things could change, right? And definitely how you have to learn how to pivot and kind of change things and learn how to adapt and to pretty much make a new way for yourself in your life, right? So I'm going to get into all those things. Maybe on another live, I'll discuss more of those things as far as transitions and how to survive the transition, how to come out of a transition on top, how to kind of either reinvent yourself or to secure yourself as a individual and understand what it is, who you are, and how you're going to tread forward in the world. But for now, I want to talk about a video that I came across. I found it on Instagram. It's a short clip. I'm going to play for you in a second. It's a short clip, but it's a clip of a child at some type of summit. It looks like almost like Teen Summit. You remember the BET show Teen Summit with what's that woman's name? Amanda. And they had I think it was DeJour was the other guy with the baby hair, all that shit going on he had in his hair. Anyways, Teen Summit was a pretty good show. It was a show that was pretty much for teenagers, giving them a voice, a platform, and also have a way to educate them. So it was a good BET show that they took off, of course, because they wanted to make sure that they stuck with videos and stuff like BET Uncut, right? That was what was a priority for BET, but that's another story. Now, it looks to be some type of video where they're at some type of summit, and it seems to be about parenting, and a child comes up to the mic and she speaks, and she lets it all out, no holds barred, very confident in the way how she spoke, very direct, and she was very passionate in the things that she was saying, and I appreciate all of what she said. And it was very important. And it was also very refreshing because as a parent, you really get to hear from your kids about their perspective, about how they feel and the way how they perceive things, especially the way how they perceive what it is that you tell them, right? Whether it's orders you give them, whether it's the lessons you try to instill in them, whether it's communication that's not necessarily verbal, but could be also nonverbal, like your body language, and how all of these things are communicated and how a child receives them, how they absorb that information, and how they take it in and how it affects them, right? So I want to play this clip. I'm not going to prolong it. I'm going to play the clip and then I'm going to go further into it, okay? Now, I'm going to share my screen. And again, this has been a while since I've been on StreamYards. So you're going to let me know whether or not it even works. So just bear with me here as I get this shit going. Let me see what is showing. What is showing? The struggle seems to be real. Let me see. Here we go. So I'm going to share my screen in 1 second here. But it's a video that I want to show with a child speaking up. There we go. I wonder if you guys can even see it. Let's allow that shit, see what happens. Okay, let me play it, see if you guys can hear it. Nah, you guys probably can't see it. Give me 1 second here. This might not even show. Let's see. Share screen. Ah, okay. Streaming also fuck with me now. Okay, let's see. Maybe I can't play the video, but maybe I could show. Get the audio, maybe. You tell me if you can hear this.
When you bring up the stuff that you do for your children, it makes us feel like a burden. It makes us feel like
Okay, let me bring it back. Let me bring it back. Let me know if you can hear this.
Go ahead. And when you bring up the stuff that you do for your children,
all right, cool.
It makes us feel like a burden.
5G stuff.
It makes us feel like I can't wait till I grow up so I don't have to be a burden to you anymore. And you say it's like when people be like your parents had a life before you, it makes you feel like I made you so miserable and bitter and like I just don't want to be here anymore because you don't want to be here anymore. So why should I be here and put my best foot forward if the person who gave birth to me and made me come in this life doesn't want me? How am I supposed to look at somebody else for love if I feel like I'm not getting love at home? What do you do when you want to have somebody to talk to, but they like you can't talk to them? You go to somebody else to talk to, and that's not who you want us to talk to. How am I supposed to come and talk to you, and you don't listen to me, but somebody else may listen to me, but they not gonna treat me how? Go ahead. And when you bring up the stuff that you do for your children, it makes us feel like a burden. It makes
Look who I just figured out. Okay, let me bring that shit back. Okay. Yeah, Teen Summer was 50 years ago. I know, Mark. It's been a long time. It's been a long time. But let me play this. I see you guys can see it now, so let me play it, run it back with the visuals.
Say less.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And when you bring up the stuff that you do for your children, it makes us feel like a burden. It makes us feel like I can't wait till I grow up so I don't have to be a burden to you anymore. If you say it's like when people be like your parents had a life before you, it make you feel like I made you so miserable and bitter and like I just don't want to be here anymore because you don't want me to be here anymore. So why should I be here and put my best foot forward if the person who gave birth to me and made me come in this life doesn't want me? How am I supposed to look at somebody else for love if I feel like I'm not getting love at home? What do you do when you want to have somebody to talk to, but they like you can't talk to them? You go to somebody else to talk to, and that's not who you want us to talk to. How am I supposed to come and talk to you, and you don't listen to me, but somebody else may listen to me, but they not gonna treat me how you want me to be treated? You love me, but you don't show it. But they don't love me, but they.
And that shit cut off when it was getting good. That shit cut off when it was getting good. I want to run that back.
Say less.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And when you bring up the stuff that you do for your children, it makes us feel like a burden. It makes us feel like I can't wait till I grow up so I don't have to be a burden to you anymore. If you say it's like when people be like your parents had a life before you, it makes you feel like I made you so miserable and bitter and like I just don't want to be here anymore because you don't want me to be here anymore. So why should I be here and put my best foot forward if the person who gave birth to me and made me come in this life doesn't want me? How am I supposed to look at somebody else for love if I feel like I'm not getting love at home? What do you do when you want to have somebody to talk to, but they like you can't talk to them? You go to somebody else to talk to, and that's not who you want us to talk to. How am I supposed to come and talk to you, and you don't listen to me, but somebody else may listen to me, but they not gonna treat me how you want me to be treated? You love me, but you don't show it. But they don't love me, but they.
Wow. That girl said a lot. She said a lot, right? Now, I want to break that down, that conversation down, because again, I don't know what she was responding to. I don't know if someone triggered her or whatnot. I don't know. But what I do know is that she spoke from the heart. And the things that she said, it hit home for me as well, too, because you try as a parent, you try. And you try to say the right things. You try to guide your kids a certain way. And there's times that you get frustrated. There's times when you say things you might not even mean. There's times when you will tell your child, look, don't do what I do, but do what I say. Or you'll say to do something, but then they see that you don't do that yourself. And they start to see the hypocrisy. And children have a mind of their own. And they have a mind of their own from the moment that they're born. And a lot of times we forget that. We think that they're a sponge that we can just pour into and they become whoever it is that we dictate that they become. And that's not the case at all. And this little girl pretty much explains how she sees parents and how easy it is for children to pick up on things, how they could pick up on the parent that looks at them like a burden, how they could pick up on the fact that the parent may love them, but doesn't like the fact that this child, once they were born, changed their life. And in many ways, not for the better. And when that's something that's communicated to a child, when a child feels that way, this is when you start to get these types of behaviors where they start to look elsewhere and seek attention elsewhere and look for the love that they feel they're not getting from their parent. Or like this girl said, she knows that the best love is from a parent. She knows that the best person to speak to about things is her mom or dad, but she'd rather go to someone else who she even knows might not love her the same way, who she even knows might not have her best interests in mind, but that person is there and is not going to pass judgment on them. So, in other words, she was very cognizant to say that I know this other person, the stranger, is not good for me, but that person is there for me. That person is available for me. And that's something that as a parent, you have to be mindful of. How do you treat your children? Do you give them room to be themselves, to express themselves, to build their own characters, their own characteristics, their own personalities? Do you give them that room? As a parent, it's not really your job to stifle your child. Your job as a parent is to guide your child, to show them the parameters, to give them advice on how to conduct themselves, to give them the power of discernment, to grow that ability within them, not just you telling them what to do, where they're always looking up to their parent to figure out what do I do next. No, your job is to guide them and to make sure that they have a mind of their own, that they're actually knowledgeable on the many pitfalls out there, who to go to, who not to go to, what signs to look for, and people who have your best interests in mind. But the thing is, the most important thing is, and like this child said, she knows the people out there are not good for her, but she still goes to them anyways. And it's all because they feel that they can't go to their parents. So the one thing as a parent, you have to be approachable. You have to be able to let your child know that, hey, no matter what, you can come to me. It's safe to come to me. I may not be always happy about what you tell me, but if you need advice, if you need guidance, if you need someone to be a sounding board, to hear you out, to kind of help you think through things, you could come to me. And you'll be comfortable enough to know that I have your best interest in mind. Right? So I just want to play that one more time. So I think it's important that we play it again just so people can understand and see. Give me 1 second.
Go ahead.
And when you bring up the stuff that you do for your children, it makes us feel like a burden. It makes us feel like I can't wait till I grow up so I don't have to be a burden to you anymore. If you say it's like when people be like your parents had a life before you, it makes you feel like I made you so miserable and bitter and like I just don't want to be here anymore because you don't want me to be here anymore. So why should I be here and put my best foot forward if the person who gave birth to me and made me come in this life doesn't want me? How am I supposed to look at somebody else for love if I feel like I'm not getting love at home? What do you do when you want to have somebody to talk to, but they like you can't talk to them? You go to somebody else to talk to, and that's not who you want us to talk to.
Now, Maddie, make a good point. I don't know if this was coached. I know a lot of times children, they regurgitate things that they've been told. And it's not really a message that they even believe themselves, but it's what they've heard, right? But based on what I'm seeing here, and again, this is an isolated clip, so I don't have all of the context or what she was responding to, but I believe that she was being sincere in what she was saying. To me, I do feel that she does feel that she has trouble going to a parent to kind of confide in them. Right. And that's an issue because you'll find that when, especially with girls, when girls cannot confide in their parents, their mother or their father, and they start to confide into other people, and usually they tend to confide in men because they feel I guess more safer with men as opposed to confiding in other women. Sometimes they do. I don't know, but I know that when they confide in men, a lot of things could happen as far as the men could use those things that they divulge to them to pretty much put them in a do little twist, right? Where the men can use what she said or what she's spoken about to get her to do things that she normally wouldn't do, right? And I don't want to go into the full details of what that could be, but you could kind of pretty much figure that out, right? Another thing as well too, I know Mark is saying you should train your child in a way that they uh, should not go live, though them, but make them good citizens. You know what? I agree with that, Mark. I think what it is that you want to foster your child's personality, and you want to give them good sound advice and make sure that they don't, or they understand that everything that they do has consequences, right? But I don't think this is something that she posted on social media. This is some type of teen summit thing where she didn't even know this was going to be on the internet. And I think this might be even old, right? I don't know how old this is, but I don't think she said this for clout or to go viral, right? Let me see what other people are saying here. The best thing to do is stay away from me. I can only teach you how to kill dummies. I hear you. I hear you. Let's see if we can find it real quick. Okay, yeah. Let me know if there's more to it than this particular clip. Let me know. Yeah, let me know, man, if you get more information on the context of this. But again, from what I gather from this particular clip, this is a child who is trying to reach out to say, look, we feel a certain way when we hear our parent say that since you were born, I had to put my dreams aside. We've all seen parents like that. We've all heard parents like that. It may even be our own parents who we've heard or overheard them saying that, right? Not to our face, but to a friend, and they were in the same house and we heard them, where their parent will say things like, you know, if so and so wasn't born, I would be, you know, in this career making thousands of dollars more. If I didn't get pregnant, I would be going off with this particular man. So we tend to hear stuff like that, and sometimes as a parent, you don't really realize that your child is listening, that your child is picking up on these things, that your child senses the regret, senses that they're a burden. Children are very intuitive. They understand a lot of these things, right? So I think as parents, we have to be honest with ourselves and reevaluate how we come across to our children, and to make sure that we're doing the right things and that we're giving them an open forum to express themselves so that they feel heard. Because the last thing you want to do is make your child feel stifled within the house and they have to go outside to be able to express themselves the way how they really want to. Because what happens is that you have a child that ends up doing things behind your back that you have no idea about. You have a child who has a completely different personality. You ever see in the movies where the child walks out of the house with no makeup, uh, long sleeve shirts, pants, but then as soon as they get out the house, they switch up, they put on makeup, they got their skirts going high up, they take off their clothing, they're wearing as little clothing as possible. They become a completely different person. I remember one time when I was on the bus. I was on the bus and I saw this girl. She was in a hijab, which is the Muslim garb that covers one's head. And I recognized her because, well, I took a look at her and she was beautiful. Her face was beautiful, right? So I remember her from that day. Maybe about a week or 2 weeks later, I'm at a club and I spot the same girl. This time, no hijab. She has her curly hair all the way out, makeup, dressed scantily clad, up in the club. The same girl wearing her hijab going to school on the weekdays is getting down at the club, and their parents don't know, I'm sure. Their parents don't know. But she can't express that in her own household. Just do it outside in the streets. And when you're outside in the streets, who are you going to meet? What type of people are you going to meet? What crowd are you going to be ending up in? So, right. So these are all the pitfalls that are there for kids who can't express themselves at home and have to go elsewhere in order to be themselves or to explore and to experiment. And this is where you get a lot of kids end up in trouble. They end up in situations where they're joining gangs and their parents have no idea. The parents have no idea what's going on, right? So a lot of these kids, they're living double lives. A lot of them, right? So it's important that as parents, that you make sure that you're involved with your children, you give them the space to express themselves and to be themselves, and you give them the love and the care and also the honesty. Because yes, there are situations where when children are born, it takes a mental toll on you, and it can be very life changing, right? And these are the things that you could be honest with them about. Look, when I found out that I was going to be a father, I could see my life was going to change, and I had to make adjustments, and I prepared myself for those 9 months. And since you were born, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I got my life straight up or straightened out. And I was able to work towards things. You have this conversation with your child. You let them know that look, it's not easy. It's hard being a parent. It's not easy at all. It's hard. And you can have that conversation with your child. I mean, this girl, she seems to be a teenager, so that's probably the best age to have that type of conversation with them, a heart-to-heart conversation. But you can have this conversation with someone who's younger than their teens. They'll be able to understand or get the gist of it, right? So you be honest with them. You be upfront. Look, there's times when dad doesn't want to play. There's times when dad's tired, working long shifts. There's times when I might yell and I shouldn't yell, and this is the reason why that's happening. And I'm working towards it. I'm getting better. This is what's happening, and we're gonna get through this and that and the third. You could share that information with your child. You're not dumping on them. You're not you know making them the part of the problem, right? You're just sharing with them so that they understand, right? Because one thing that you have to realize is that if your child sees you as someone who's not quote unquote perfect, or your child sees you as someone that is not the type of parent that do as I say, not as I do, if you're real with them in certain aspects, right? But of course, you still maintain that respect and understanding that you are the parent and they are the child. But you still give them that leeway to say, look, I could be vulnerable. If you let your child know that, if you let your child in on that, not only will there be more respect, but also be more communication between them, right? So it's very important that you have that line of communication with your child, because the last thing you want is to be in a situation where your child runs away. You don't know where they are overnight. You don't know who their friends are. You don't know who their boyfriends are. You don't know who their girlfriends are. You don't know what they're doing, right? These are the things that you don't want. You want to be that parent who's in the know, not the helicopter parent, but the parent that is able to have that communication with the child. Oh, you're going to be with so and so? Okay, cool. Let me know if you need anything. Give me a call if you want me to pick you up. Something like that, straightforward. Give your child the ability to express themselves and to tell you what's going on, and also gives them the confidence to be able to come to you. And also, you're giving them the leeway to kind of handle things on their own, which again builds confidence, right? So I want to play this clip one more time because there's something that she said I want to just touch on as well too.
Say that. Go ahead.
And when you bring up the stuff that you do for your children, it makes us feel like a burden. It makes us feel like I can't wait till I grow up so I don't have to be a burden to you anymore. If you say it's like when people be like your parents had a life before you, it makes you feel like I made you so miserable and bitter and like.
Speaking of which, how many times have you heard parents say, when you're 18, you're gone. You're out of this house. You can't stay in this house. This is how they interpret it when you say stuff like this, right? And I'll be honest, my kids don't gotta leave at 18 years old. They could stay. They could stack up and save their money. They're gonna be working. They're gonna be doing something productive, but they don't have to leave. They could stay. They're not going to be a burden to me. They're going to be assisting me because they're going to be assisting themselves, right? You set those rules and those parameters in place, but you never kick your kids out. You never threaten them to say, you know what, when 18 hits, you're gone because I can't afford to put food in the fridge because you're eating up all the food. You're trying to bring boys to the house. You don't have to have those conversations with them in that particular way. Let them know this is your home. They don't have to leave because when you kick, especially girls, when you kick girls out at 18, guess where they go? They're not going to any place that's really good. They're either going to their boyfriends or they're going to their girlfriends, who's probably going to go out and be around the boys and go out partying. You don't know. But the point is, you got to be very careful what you're doing because you don't want to throw your children to the wolves. It's the same thing with boys too. You don't want to kick your boys out at a young age. How are they going to fend for themselves? How are they going to pay for things? Do you make sure that you set up your children to have an income? Are they able to be self-sufficient? You don't just throw them out because they're going to end up in situations too where they end up in, it could be a group home. It could be situations where they end up in jail. They have to commit crimes in order to pay for things. They're living with roommates who may be abusive. You don't know. But the point is, where else better than home for them to be? There's no other better place under your care where they could be safe. So it's something that you really have to think about. But let's continue with what she said as well.
I just don't want to be here anymore because you don't want me to be here anymore. So why should I be here and put my best foot forward if the person who gave birth to me made me?
Don't it remind you of that movie Precious with Monique? How she looks at her child as a burden, interfering with her relationship with a new man. Anyways, let me keep going.
Come in his life doesn't want me. How am I supposed to look at somebody else for love if I feel like I'm not getting love at home? What do you do when you want to have somebody to talk to, but they like you can't talk to them? You go to somebody else to talk to, and that's not who you want us to talk to. How am I supposed to come and talk to you, and you don't listen to me, but somebody else may listen to me, but they not gonna treat me how you want me to be treated? You love me, but you don't show it. But they don't love me, but they.
And they cut off there. There was more that she was saying about how you love me, but you don't show it. They don't love me, but they show interest. And this is what they long for. Especially girls. They long for the interest. They long for the attention. Someone please hear me out. Someone please make me feel like I could be heard. And when you as a parent don't provide that to them, they're going to get it out there. And that person could be an older man who's going to appear to be able to provide her with a place to stay, lends them their ear, and end up doing things that would probably be illegal as far as an older man and a younger child. It might be situations where they might even put them into the sex trade. You don't know what could happen. But the point is, she's seeking something from a stranger that she should be getting from her own family. And whenever you seek something that you should be getting from your own family outside there in the streets, you're vulnerable. And the people who are in the streets, they can smell that shit from a mile away. They can smell that shit from a mile away. They know the people who they could manipulate and trick and turn out. They know because it's not just any type of woman or teen that ends up in that situation. It's a specific type of characteristic or a specific type of personality that they can exploit. And this is what I get from what this girl is saying, that she is so vulnerable. She is so longing for attention and the love of her father or her mother, that she is vulnerable and she is willing to go out there and to give herself to someone who she knows is not the best for her, who she knows doesn't really love her, but will at least act like it. And all I could think of when I heard that is a pimp. The pimp would tell you something good, tell you what you want to hear, but doesn't have your best interest in mind. Right? So let me just play it one more time and get some more spins off this.
Say that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And when you bring up the stuff that you do for your children, it makes us feel like a burden. It makes us feel like I can't wait till I grow up so I don't have to be a burden to you anymore. If you say it's like when people be like your parents had a life before you, it makes you feel like I made you so miserable and bitter and like I just don't want to be here anymore because you don't want me to be here anymore. So why should I be here and put my best foot forward if the person who gave birth to me and made me come in this life doesn't want me? How am I supposed to look at somebody else for love if I feel like I'm not getting love at home? What do you do when you want to have somebody to talk to, but they like you can't talk to them? You go to somebody else to talk to, and that's not who you want us to talk to. How am I supposed to come and talk to you, and you don't listen to me, but somebody else may listen to me, but they not gonna treat me how you want me to be treated? You love me, but you don't show it. But they don't love me, but they.
Right? You love me, but you don't show it. They don't love me, but they show it. Right? And just to respond, I believe Man was talking about how he had his first spot at 18, but still had a room at your mom's place till 25. Exactly, right? You could go out on your own if you're able to be successful and to find your way, but you're never kicked out. You always have a spot at Mom Doo's crib, right? Because you know that when things go bad, when things don't work out, you have a place to stay. So you're more than likely not going to do things that you know you shouldn't do or take any penitentiary chances because you know you always have a place where you could crash, right? So it's definitely good if you could have a child be able to come into a zone, and when they're ready, they could go out into the world and explore and to become a man. So all of those things is important, but never let them feel that they gotta leave at a certain age no matter what, because they're a burden financially, emotionally, and every other which way, to the point where they're gonna run away because they no longer want to be a burden. They no longer want to stay where they're not wanted, where they don't feel loved. Right? So these are the things that I think is important that we discuss and that we make sure that as parents that we look out for, especially as your child becomes teenagers. These are the type of conversations that you want to have. And like Mark said, as far as a religious household, right? Growing up in a religious household, you could see the hypocrisy when you get to a certain age, definitely, right? You start to see the flaws in your parents. You start to see how the things that they tell you isn't necessarily the things that they actually do, right? And a lot of times when that happens, you're thrown off. You tend not to believe what they say. You tend not to trust them anymore. You tend to disobey them because you spot the hypocrisy, right? So again, a lot of times, especially with religious parents, it's always about do as I say, not as I do, right? And that only works up to a certain point in age. And after that, it's like, yo, I can't listen to you anymore, right? But you never want to push your child away to the point where now they're looking to the streets. Because right now, the streets is not a place where you want to be. It's colder outside than ever before, even though it's the summer. We're in the middle of what? It's the end of June, beginning of July, but it's cold out there. It's cold out there. So, again, just to go over this again, when you have children, when you have teenagers, always make sure that you have and you give them a platform and space to speak, to express themselves, to be heard, to feel heard, to feel that they can express their thoughts, their intentions. Give them the grace in order to be who they are. and let them know that they are loved, right or wrong, regardless of what they do. Let them know that they are loved and that their home is a space where they could come in and that they could be themselves. There's no judgment. You definitely give them guidance. You let them know that you are the parent. You let them know that there's certain rules that are going to be followed. There's certain chores that are going to be done. There's certain responsibilities that have to be met. And there's going to be accountability, especially for someone's words and their actions. All of that stuff is the groundwork. It's the groundwork. And if you do those things early on, what's going to happen is that you're going to get a child who turns into a teen who is able and capable to make decisions on their own, sound decisions on their own. And you give them that independence, you give them that leeway, you give them that space. And in return, they will feel comfortable coming to you and speaking with you and talking to you about the things that they're facing in the world. Because the last thing you want to be is a situation where you are the parent who, once they say something, it's final. You don't want to be that parent that once you confide in you, you pass judgment and it's over. You don't want to be that type of parent, okay? Because you never want to push your child away because you push them to the wolves. Because whatever it is that you fail to give your children, they are going to get it elsewhere. And that's a guarantee. And this girl pretty much summed it up. It is a guarantee that whatever it is that they're longing for that they don't get from their mother or don't get from their father, they are going to seek it from somewhere else. So that's really what I wanted to talk to you guys about this for today. I don't really have anything more to discuss right now. There are some other things that I want to go over, but that'll be for another live. Again, this is all about children, teens, and parents need to understand that your children are smarter than you think. Your children have the capacity to have these conversations. They have the maturity to have these conversations. Have it with them. Lead with honesty. You could do that stuff, right? You could definitely have these conversations with your child. And you know what? It's going to make them more mature as well, too. Right? So these are the things you have to keep in mind. Now, for next time, there will be other conversations I'm going to have in regards to real estate, in regard to housing and the cost of living and how things are escalating all over Canada and all over the US and how rent is increasing sky high. These are all the things I'm going to be discussing as well too, because that kind of ties into what I've been doing in the past about 5 months where I disappeared to. So I want to just dive into my experience about those things, but that'll be on the next live. Again, what's up, Gabe? What's going on, Mad, Mark, Moneyboy Trey? I appreciate all you guys coming in and tuning in. We don't have anything left to discuss. If anybody wants to make any comments, you could do so in the chat. You can leave comments later on and watch the replay. But that's pretty much it. Part of my presence YouTube channel. I will play my intro, but I can't even find that shit right now. Again, I have to get back into the groove. But I said what I said. Until next time, everybody, peace.